Well, hello there, friends. Welcome again to a wonderful time we're going to have here on the grass. The only show, maybe, where three white guys with beards talk about Disney. Wait a minute. No, there's several of those. Anyway, um, I am your host, Mason Betterly. Joining me, as always, is my dear friend, Matt Arterberry. Say hello to the
Hello,
folks out there in
hello.
Radioland. Hello, how are you doing today, buddy?
Good. It's been a busy day, but I'm excited to talk about our topic today.
Yeah, oh, it's a fun topic. And
It is.
and I find it funny, you and I are both wearing Buzz Lightyear related
That's
attire
true.
today.
I didn't think about that until you mentioned.
Yeah, I was thinking about it just as we were counting down to start. Um, and for those of you who are just listening on the podcast, not the video version we have on YouTube, I'm wearing my, I guess now trademark Mrs. Nesbitt sweater, and Matt is wearing his very nice button-up shirt
From
like nice.
Roosevelt. Roosevelt.
Oh,
It's lovely. Lovely.
oh, very nice, very nice.
Very comfy.
But guys, enough chit chat because we have a very special guest with us this week. We have Tim Saint Aubin. He is very prevalent on TikTok. I've been seeing him on my for you page constantly for quite a while now, and I just have been wanting to get him on the show for quite a while here. So finally, we were supposed to have him on. How long ago was that now? Was
It
that
was
two,
about
3 weeks?
2 or 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks
I think
ago,
so.
and that's when we had those technical issues. And obviously, I did not want to sell him short, so we rescheduled to bring him in today to talk about a wonderful new extinct expedition that we go on. We are going to be, doing some more of those in today. But Tim, what are we talking about today? Why don't you lead us in?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Hi, guys. I'm glad to be doing the podcast. I'm a big fan. I've been listening since the beginning. So
Awesome.
looking forward to today. Today's topic that I sort of brought to the table, I guess, is World of Motion, a opening day attraction at Epcot. That is now, as many people know, the famous Test Track attraction.
Yep.
Not a lot of people talk about World of Motion, at least in my opinion.
No.
So I know, yeah. So I figured it'd be fun to talk about today.
Yeah. So, that you're absolutely right. It's sort of like the black sheep of classic Epcot, because I know Horizons, especially in recent years, has had a huge boom in its fan base. Obviously, classic Journey into Imagination has a stalwart army of fans. I'm part of that. But but this one is hardly ever talked about. And
I
it's
know.
shocking because I started doing some more research into it when you brought it up, because we had we wanted to bring you on for something you were interested in. So when you suggested that, I was like, yeah, I barely know anything.
Yeah.
So I really started doing a deep dive, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a fantastic attraction. But yeah, so none of us got a chance to actually ride it, correct?
No, I never did.
Okay, I just wanted to make. I didn't know if somebody had a crazy experience in their back pocket.
Because I think it closed in '97. Because
Yes.
to kind of echo Mason's point, I always heard the words World of Motion as an opening day attraction, but had never even watched any ride-throughs or really delved into the history of it until like the past couple days, getting ready for this episode, is when I started looking at some of the information. And from what I can see, and this is overview, is I think the reason why it's kind of lost in history is because I think people are more attached and have high opinions about Test Track 1 versus the modern day Test Track, because I feel like Test Track, the original version, in a way, I don't want to say perfected World of Motion, but it did a good job as well, telling a story of automobiles and things like that. And for me, I was watching some ride-throughs, the very old, low-quality ride-throughs. To me, it was like it was basically like the transportation version of Spaceship Earth. So I think we still have Spaceship Earth in at least its current form, and it tells that history and has those. It's a very animatronic filled attraction, which was the greatness of World of Motion as well. But for me, as a Mark Davis fan, it's hard to see one of Mark Davis's attractions go. Obviously, having his iconic and signature way he went around telling stories but also having those iconic gags. So that's just been my perception with the research that I've done.
Yeah. So
I gotcha.
Wow.
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
No, for sure. I agree, and but at the same time, that's like why I want to talk about it, because not that many people know that titans of Disney Imagineering worked on World of Motion. You got Mark Davis, you got John Hench, you got someone big in the animation, but not necessarily in the rides, and Ward Kimball working on it too. Yeah. So it's you have these titans of the Imagineering from decades working on this attraction, and it's a shame that it's not that talked about. It's not that. It has a very similar historic story to the Haunted Mansion in terms of conflicting ideals. So it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's speaking of Mansion, real quick, and even Pirates, Exitensier was the one that wrote the soundtrack for World of Motion as well, which I thought was kind of really fascinating.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah,
and you had Buddy Baker in there as well. So it's sort of like an all-star. Like for that era, it was the all-star crew going in on this project, because I know Claude Coates was in there as well. So I'm sure that was a fun time for Mark Davis. But yeah, so it's just crazy that it's that crew that did all of these classic iconic attractions, and then this one has that formula basically, because and I want to get more into this after we kind of do a walkthrough, but I think it has all of the hallmark things of a mainstay classic attraction, but then again it was the 90s massacre of Epcot for Future World at least. And also, and a crazy thing I learned, this attraction had the most audio animatronics of all the attractions in Future World. So even beyond Spaceship Earth. So I found that fascinating, and I think it's crazy that they did that. But again, it was
100%, 188.
Very much a sign of the time that we got to get rid of this fun dark ride attraction and swap it out for a fun in your face thrill ride, and very Eisner era. And I'm not knocking that, but yeah, it's very telling of that time period.
Yeah. But also the sponsorship era, that was the biggest thing.
Yeah. So you had GM, and they still
technically
support
Chevy,
or did it go to Chevrolet?
Chevy, which is still kind of under GM, so it's
they're
kind
owned
of
by GM,
the same.
So
Yeah.
I have no idea about cars. So. Anyway,
me neither. Only when it relates to Disney parks. That's when I know about cars.
yeah, exactly. Let's talk about the Omnimover system. No, but yeah. So let's kind of do a quick run through. Obviously, there are other things, other shows that go very in depth on the full run through. Let's just sort of give it an overview, just to kind of give people an idea. So we start. It's very much a history of transportation. That's when it comes down to the nuts and bolts of it. You have feet, which I think it was funny that they thought to include feet, because that's just sort of obvious,
very Mark Davis.
It's very Mark Davis in that scene. You have the Neanderthals, cavemen, whatever you want to call them, blowing on their feet because they're all dog tired, I imagine. And they're very expressive. That's the one thing that always stood out to me in that scene. was it from there we get wagons? Was it in the invention of the wheel?
No, I think it's
Before that
horses.
is the before that's actually water. The first safe highway says the
Okay.
narration. He says the
Yes.
first safe highway are trips through water, which
Mm-hmm.
is the first sailboats and everything, and you have like this really cool projection
Yes.
effect of all these different boats and everything.
Yeah, a lot of projections in this ride. I
Yeah.
saw. It was pretty much in every scene there was some form of projection. I found that
Which is really cool, like really ahead of its time. in
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
regard.
I can see the executives doing from Universal going, write that down.
Screens? What? That's crazy.
Yeah. And then we had, of course, just something that really stood out to me throughout all of these was how expansive the scenes were and how detailed they were. I know, yeah. So then we have the wheel, and you have all those animals that they're trying to move forward with, and they got elephants and zebras. I know the zebra is not having it, and the camels and whatnot. But then from there, I think you get to the Renaissance from there, right? And it's a scene with Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah, Da Vinci,
Not the
ignoring the Mona Lisa while he's working on a
I
flying
thought that was really
flying
clever.
contraption.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Yeah. So from there is where I'm getting a little foggy because I think we jump from there all the way to steam engines. Is that right?
I think I missed a scene in my notes, but then we go into like sort of hot air balloons.
Oh, yes.
There's a scene of a guy in a hot air balloon flying over, and then we get into paddle wheels steamships.
Yes.
That's the next scene after that.
Awesome
Yeah.
scene. Very, again, it's just the depth that goes into it is just wonderful. Yeah. From there, I think you have the steam engine holdup, which is, I think, one of the more iconic scenes. Along with, and I think somewhere in there was the boat, or the ship with the sea serpent. I think the sea serpent has become kind of the most iconic thing to come out of it. I think there's a map in Tokyo Disney Sea that references that exact sea serpent.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's cool to see that kind of stuck around, and the references through of its history.
It's the only thing I really ever see like come around, like vintage Epcot, like maybe like Etsy shops will have that, but yeah, that's the only thing I could foresee seeing that there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, from there we have, I think we go into bicycles, sort of some cute scenes, with them getting stuck and, all those sort of different things. But then is sort of the moment where the cars come into play. And then you have I feel like in the promotional stuff, the most, the scene that was pushed the most was the big traffic jam scene, which is really where sort of jaw dropping with just how much is going on in that scene, because you have the car, the trucks unloading, you have the big crash in the center with all the eggs all over the place, and it's a very classic Mark Davis scene, with just there's so much character in it.
100%, yeah. All like Mark Davis. That actually has the most animatronics out of all the scenes. 61, I think I had. 61 animatronics in that scene alone.
Insane.
Very crazy. The narration calls it the first traffic jam.
Yes.
Which is kind of funny. Yeah, I love all the little gags. The guy coming out from the sewer is really fun. Yeah, very Mark Davis inspired animatronic designs. It's very cool.
Yeah. Now, from there, it's cars slowly modernized through a bunch of different vignettes. But then we go into the speed tunnel, which is sort of way ahead of its time. I feel like I feel like up until this point, the ride is very much behind its time, and I'll get into that later. But this is very much ahead of its time with all that it's doing to make you feel like you're going way faster, which ironically, ends up becoming the main thing for Test Track later on. But
Oh, for sure, yeah.
yeah. So I think that's pretty great, and then you get into to see the city of tomorrow, and sort of that final note of optimism before leaving you basically the same place where you are today, with the showcase of all the cars from GM or Chevy or what have you.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that they did that whole City of Tomorrow thing. I think it for the quality of footage we have of it today, I think it looks beautiful. Yeah.
One of the best, yeah. Better than the future that's now on the People Mover over there, where we used to have it over here at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Way more intricate, way bigger and everything.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so so that's sort of the overview of the ride itself. Why do you think? And I kind of want to go down the line with this, but why do you think that one specifically was so? I feel like that was like the main first fatality of classic Epcot, because I know Horizons had a bit of a comeback and stuff, and then obviously Journey into Imagination's a little bit more complicated, but yeah. So what are your thoughts on that, Matt?
Yeah, I think I kind of touched upon it at the beginning of the show. Is that we already had a very, and obviously World of Motion had more animatronics, but an animatronic heavy historical Omnimover ride in Epcot, which was which still is Spaceship Earth. And the reason, obviously, World of Motion, again, I think this is a issue that Tomorrowland has, but also Epcot has with Future World. Obviously, that's kind of going by the wayside, that title. Is that there is always new technology, and so for Disney to talk about the future, the issue is that the future catches up to the past ideas, and it becomes a reality. And so with World of Motion, I think they got to the point where that let's say the ride system, but that story became even more dated than it was when it first opened. So I think that was one part of it. And two, I think in Epcot there was a need for something a little more exciting, because pretty much all that was at Epcot at that point was Omnimovers, dark rides, which Test Track still had a kind of a dark ride aspect to it, but it still had that kind of exciting, brought some adrenaline to your day. So I think that was the big part of it. Was I'm all for the education, entertainment style of Epcot. I think that's part of the DNA of Epcot and essential. But I think it's good to have these rides that can still teach. And I think that was the great balance that Test Track 1 had. Obviously, Test Track 2012 kind of lost a lot of that. But and so again, I think that's kind of my thought on it, is that yes, it's sad that we lost a attraction that was very iconic for the time and had so many great Imagineers on that project. So it's sad to see the work gone, but I think that World of Motion served its purpose for the time, and it was just time for it to see its end. And there was, like I said, there was a great attraction that came around the corner that still dealt with a lot of those same ideas and topics, but unfortunately didn't have the charm of the fun animatronics and that silly storytelling.
All right. And what are your thoughts on that, Tim?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. It's. Excuse me. The bringing. Sorry, bringing the new on. I can totally get that. It didn't have a lot of. Epcot didn't have a lot of thrill rides. It's very much on the sponsorship system. I feel that it was gone. GM wanting something different. I just learned this in my quick, brain rush this morning. Is to that the original Universe of Energy and this closed on the same day.
Okay.
To turn
All
into
right.
Ellen's and this. So I feel like that was sort of like the beginning of trying to revamp everything.
Yeah.
They probably wanted a lot more over there, and that's why like Horizons had to like hold strong for a while. Which, I mean, it's a great ride, so it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Epcot, I really love Test Track. I'm sure you guys got to experience the '90s older Test Track,
Ooh,
right?
yeah. The
Okay.
the test dummy test track.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. The whatever they call it. Yeah. I think it's called test dummies, right?
It looked really fun. Like the only Test Track I got to do is the current one, which is still really fun. I really love that slot car style that Radiator Springs Racers has for me over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just at the same time I'm very just nostalgic, especially for things I've never experienced, like old Epcot.
Yeah.
So I as someone who has like the original Haunted, the original Pirates over here, it feels to me as if it has that same sort of
You don't have to
ideal.
brag like that. You don't have to brag like that. That was low.
I had to slip. I had to slip it in. I had to slip it in.
You see, here's the thing. No. I'm gonna stop you there, because the original Haunted Mansion and our Haunted Mansion is literally only 2 years apart, and it's so close together that they're building the parts basically two at a time, because they know
Right,
they're
yeah.
gonna have to. So
Yeah,
I take.
that's
take it
fair.
back.
That's fair.
Now,
That's
pirates
totally
I'll give
fair.
you. Pirates I'll give you.
Yes. It has that same sort of feel for me, that that classic, like Mark Davis, classic Disney, classic, like that's what they do best. That sort of dark ride, full animatronics, funny Mark Davis aspects, but also just like world enveloping. Yeah, like I mean, I can't ride it anymore, so
Yeah.
I can't defend it that much. It is what it is.
But you know
But,
quality when you see it. You know quality when you see it, and I
100%.
I think I truly believe that if it stuck around longer and got some of the TLC it needed, much like a lot of these rides, I think it could have found its way as to be one of those warhorse kind of rides where it is so iconic you can't get rid of it. You can change it, you can update it, you can modernize it, but you can't get rid of it. I feel like it could have found its way into the pantheon into the same pantheon of Pirates, of Spaceship Earth, and I get the desire for more high octane attractions, especially at that time. And and that's sort of it does suffer from a lot of problems, the sort of Epcot problems of the future, ends up coming. Or, in turn is the Tomorrowland problem. But I don't know. There's something so utterly charming about this ride to me, that I don't know. I think they should have found a way to make this work and stick around. Same as Horizons. I mean, if it was a situation of, like gun to my head, I have to pick one or the other, I'll pick Horizons.
Yeah.
But even then, I have pause, because there's just so much good going on here. It is. I kind of feel like it's the last huzzah of that classic, the dream team, of the 60s and 70s. And it's that last it feels very Walt. It feels,
Yeah.
like that wonderful world, the Disney kind of thing. And so I don't know. Whereas I feel so, and that's actually what I meant when I had said, it's behind its time, because it does feel very much of like a carryover from that era. Whereas I feel
Right.
like Horizons feels like very, very ahead of its time, very, cutting edge and stuff. And I get that. So, personally, I would rather have, again, going kind of back to that either or scenario. I guess I would have to say I'd rather live in a world where we have Horizons next to Test Track than World of Motion next to Mission Space. But that in no way means that if I could hold on to both, I wouldn't, because I feel like there's just a lot to be, or like they could have made a hybrid where you're going through in the Test Track vehicle, and then that's kind of the grand finale. So instead of the speed tunnel, you get the whole rush at the end,
Right.
maybe. So you still get that fun history. And yeah, I get that it updates and things move. So you swap out a few cars. The other history really hasn't changed. Feet are still there, Feet
Yeah.
remain. um, but yeah, I don't know. I through my research in this, I got really attached, and that's kind of been the main theme for a lot of classic Epcot. I don't you have that with World of Motion, you have that with Horizons, you have that with classic Journey into Imagination. I'm less so attached to like Buzzy and Universe of Energy. I'm not as attached to that. But if you had to, put the thrill rides in there and keep this classic stuff, because there is value in that. And I'm not saying, and I know the whole, and I know at this point I'm rambling about it, but I know the whole, well, Walt said, things are gonna change, and I'm like, that's a cop out. That's a cop out for putting energy into things that that do have inherent value. And I feel like this ride had an inherent value that was unfortunately a victim of its time, with wanting other things and not being willing to put that money into upkeep and making changes to make it grow and continue forward.
That's totally fair.
So.
Yeah.
So I guess my question for you guys is just kind of thinking about just that conversation that Mason started to dip into, is that Test Track is in now what we're calling World Discovery. So I'm curious, with that kind of theme in mind, do you see Test Track fitting into that theme still? But if not, which I think maybe not personally, where would you like to see their efforts put in? Like, what kind of traction would you want to see there? I think we still stay within that transportation vein, but like, what do you think would fit in there now that we're going to this more discovery based?
I think it's rather bold of you to assume that Disney's gonna stick to their guns on their original plan with Epcot, but
Fair.
I mean,
Neighborhoods.
that's I think they still will. But also Discovery is a very like catch-all thing. Like discover cars, So I think it could fit. If I wanted to go more towards like Discovery, I would say maybe like, I mean, you already have Mission Space in there, but maybe like, I mean, honestly, like get rid of Mission Space, but like if you have to keep Mission Space, maybe do something more like, I mean, just forget like Elon Musk and everybody, but like maybe like more talk about like the future of transportation, specifically to space, because I feel like that is where we might be going. So maybe try to focus a ride on like, I mean, we have cars and they're not going anywhere. but maybe do like, we're going to transport you to the moon, and then that way you can tie in a little bit like of references to like Flight to the Moon and all the other older rides. But you could definitely do that, and that's like we're discovering new worlds, so you could fit that within Discovery. If you wanted to like completely redo Test Track, plus that way you'd have more of the, you'd still have the transportation element to it. You can tie in references to World of Motion, because I would love references to World of Motion. But yeah, more like, instead of looking back at the history of transportation, if that's too old school for people, maybe instead just looking forward, going, we're going to be going to the moon and back, and then we'll go to the moon to stay there. We'll go to Mars to stay there. You know, that could work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be fun if you married the ideas of the of mission space, that kind of thing, and Horizons, the history of that pavilion, the history of the, I'll just say the motion pavilion. So both of those. I think if you did a fun attraction where you just leveled both of those and made like an even larger one attraction that is the story of discovery, and you got to be careful with that. Got to be very careful with that kind of a theme, but you can do like, this is where we've gone or where we've come from with just the idea of discovery. You can cross the Atlantic. You can discover the spice trails, or or trade, even with Marco Polo and things like that. But now it's come to discover the next chapter, and then you take off and go through space, and now it's your journey as you are the discoverer of new things. And it just, that kind of thing where it blends transportation and space travel study, and that kind of scientific edge, with maybe a bit of of other scientific discoveries, penicillin, and no, I'm being serious. Like, these are really important things we have to look at, and you can I don't know, but different theories, different scientific. You could have Einstein show up, have Einstein actually host the ride, narrate it, have a fun little quirky voice. Like, they're going to do discoveries, and, a little bit of Ludwig von Drake in there, but
and then it ends with the Manhattan Project.
What?
And then it ends with the Manhattan Project.
Oh no!
I had to.
Oh well, I'm gonna figure somebody else out.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they want more IP in there, so it probably should be Ludwig von Drake.
That's true.
Yeah, let's do Ludwig.
There you go.
Yeah, let's get a good character, classic character in there, and then you can have, I don't know, you can do Discover. You can do different modes of transportation. You can have the Black Pearl. You could have Lightning McQueen. You could have who else? You could have the House from Up.
Oh, there you go.
All right. See. Once you pull this thread, it all starts unraveling.
There you go.
But yeah, I don't think the idea of, I don't think the whole world of Discovery idea is, or the like Discovery neighborhood or whatever it is now. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think they needed to refresh the concept of future world, because it needs some TLC.
Yeah.
I had a concept that I did a while ago, where that side was all about scientific advancement and what man can do, and then the other side where Seas Pavilion, Imagination Pavilion, all that stuff, you'd actually move Imagination over to that side with all that World of Motion and all that stuff, but the rest would actually be about Earth and what Earth can do. So you would have like basically a whole big expansive mountain range that's built, and everything in there there's an attraction for water, there's attraction for air, which is basically just Soarin', but then fire, earth, and the elements basically, and that side was a celebration of Earth and what it can do, and then the other side is what we can do with science, stuff like that. So I think I kind of like the idea that I would like it if we kind of focused and made it more of that kind of a celebration for us and for where we live in this wonderful spaceship Earth.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting that World Discovery will be very IP heavy here in a little bit, because we have Guardians filling in the former Universal Energy Building, and then the Play Pavilion is Wonders of Life, and then we have kind of the holdouts of the IP list rides there with Test Track and Mission Space, and I think Test Track is just waiting for a Tesla sponsorship, just because everything you guys kind of said there is like, we still want to keep this idea of like what the future of transportation could be, and it currently is. I think Tesla's doing kind of SpaceX Tesla sponsorship would be kind of neat there, with now Elon looking to go to space as well. Obviously, Teslas have become one of the most notable electric cars today, kind of leading that effort. So I have one more question. This is sort of off topic to this, but you guys both kind of laid some shade to Mission Space, and I wrote it just recently, and I didn't think it was that bad. Not to get too far off topic of World of Motion, but I just want to know your thoughts on what do you guys dislike Mission Space, and if so, why? Because I actually thought it was a ton of fun. It admits it's been a few years since I've ridden it last, and so maybe some of those nauseous memories have left me, but I had a blast on it. Not like I said, not to get too far off topic, but I just wanted your guys' quick thoughts on Mission Space and why it always gets some shade.
Do you want to go first?
I can, yeah, sure. I did it on my college program over there 3 years ago now, 2018.
Okay.
I rode both green and red, right? I just felt that green was really boring, and red made me want to die. Not in a bad way or anything. I just red was I can get very motion sickness, so it was that. So it at the same time it was you sit in that cramped space, and you just like I was totally into it. I was like ready to give it a try. I was pressing all the buttons, and then the three other people with me, because I was by myself, were just like sitting there. So I was like, so they were like, you press the button, and then they didn't do it, and I was like, oh, we did it for you. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And then I was doing my thing. So I mean, it's a fun concept, and I like the idea of like the NASA owned thingies using the ride. Forgot the word for it. Just green, you just sort of sit there, and you just like you press the buttons when they tell you. And I don't know. I mean, like no shade. Like it's great. I mean, it does what it needs to do. I didn't find it that particularly fun, or wanted to kill me. Same thing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's I don't know. It's just so ride. I think it just I don't know. I'll ride it. I don't have a huge problem with it, but it's definitely like I feel like it's one of, if not the weak link in the chain. I know that's kind of outrageous saying that in the same park as Journey into Imagination with Figment.
True.
Hey,
but I don't know. It's completely different. It's I don't know. I just feel it's sort of lackluster, and I don't know. I don't get out of it what I feel like I want to get out of it, especially now that I know what was there. And it's just sort of comparatively, it's like you took out it's like you took out just to kind of pair it back to World of Motion. It's like you took out a Mona Lisa and then you put in like the Andy Warhol Campbell soup.
I can see that. Yeah, for both of them, honestly.
Yeah, it's like you took that and then like, okay, all right, well, it's modern. Okay, it's not that though. So, and I know that's a weird analogy, and but it just, I don't know, it lacks the flavor. It feels very sterile. That's it. It feels very sterile to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, maybe because I always was fascinated and still fascinated with space and wanted to be an astronaut as a child. Maybe that's just like some nostalgic in me, like trying to, like, testing out being a astronaut. And I think judging it based off of Green, and even Green being in the conversation, is unfortunate because it wasn't there opening day. It was there because people were getting sick and couldn't handle the original version of the ride.
Died.
Did a kid die on it?
Yeah, a kid died on the ride.
I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah.
I guess
that was maybe like a month.
That explains the excessive amount of times they're like, just so you know, this is an uncomfortable ride. You can get off now. They give you like 20 times to get off and like 20 warnings now. I didn't realize someone died on it.
Yeah, kid had pre-existing conditions, but a kid did die on that ride, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I regret what I was saying earlier, but I did feel like it, so I can totally get that at the same time.
Oh dang! I completely forgot.
well, someone also died on Big Thunder, so.
People have died on all kinds of things.
Again, not Disney's fault. Well, actually, no. Big Thunder was Disney's fault, but
I'm not, and I'm not dissing the people that died. I'm not like stupid dead people, but no, and I'm not trying to make light of that. I'm just saying, like, unfortunately, the reality of it is, these parks have been existing for over 60 years. Looking.
Unfortunately, there have been. Yeah, we were in that part of Future World, and I was like, I just want to talk about this because it was probably the first time in probably like 5 or 6 years that I rode Spaceship or Mission Space, and like I said, I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And I was like, why do people hate this ride so much? And it's funny, actually, my brother-in-law was on the ride with me at the time, and he actually went to space camp growing up, and went to the Canaveral somewhere that had one of those, and they had an actual like simulator, and he was like, yeah, that's like a quarter of what you experience on a real simulator. And I was like, oh, well, that sounds awful to go on a real simulator, for one. He's like, yeah, like my cheeks were literally like in my throat because it was just, you have so much momentum and experience so many G-forces. And I was like, I was feeling pretty intense on Mission Space. I can imagine what a real one's like. And and then also makes me think about the actual original version of that ride, because it was dialed up even then too. And they had a dial back, which is what is now red a little bit. So I thought that was interesting. But sorry to divert from World of Motion. I just was wanting to talk a little bit about that part of Future World.
They're next door neighbors. It works out.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, I feel like that's sort of the shame of World of Motion. I feel like it just sort of got swept under the rug in every at every turn, and I feel bad for it because I feel like it does stand. It definitely can stand alongside Horizons and classic Journey, and that's the shame of it, because I feel like they've all gotten their due, in one form or another. They have their legacies, and I feel like it's interesting that this one just sort of got swept under the rug. Yeah.
Although I feel that if World of Motion was still around today, it would be definitely one of those that would have gotten axed during this renovation. Personally, especially with the current administration, I think it would definitely been one of those first to go.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So, and the crazy thing is, you have a ton of videos and footage on YouTube of like all the other classic Epcot stuff, but there was only like a handful of things for this, which is fascinating to me.
Yeah. that's why I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Get more on there.
Yeah. All right, if you're out there, if you're listening to this, you YouTube video people, defunct land, I doubt you're listening, but if you are, do a video on that, or other people out there too. I'm just drawing a blank. There are plenty of other people, but I know he's kind of in the forefront right now. But then also, I did want to kind of, as we are, as we come to the end of our time here, I did want to ask you, because it affects you more than us. Let's talk about those magic keys.
For sure, yeah.
You're on the West
totally
Coast.
talk about that. Yeah. So, I mean, for those of you who don't already know me, listeners, I'm out of California. I'm about 15 minutes away from Disneyland, so this does really affect me. Yes, they announced a new annual pass program for us. They canceled all our annual passes during the you-know-what. So, which I had worked there, so I didn't really have an annual pass at the time, so it was totally fine. But yeah, so now we have a new annual pass program for different keys with various levels of availability, essentially. It's very interesting. It's very similar to what we've had before. And as when I worked at Disneyland, I was a ticket taker, so I experienced a lot of different kinds of annual passes and tickets. Before the closure, we had a newer annual pass called the Flex Pass, which already had that sort of reservation system built into it. And honestly, as I was experiencing these people, they were literally oh, I forgot to get my reservation, and they'll do it right in front of me. They'll get a reservation for that day of. So with that experience, I know it shouldn't be an issue getting a reservation for annual pass holders. But then again, it's going to be for everybody, so maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I'm totally going to get one. Probably the higher tier, which everything is great, but the names, honestly. Let's start there. When I've been talking to friends or on TikTok, I have to be what's the name of that key again? I think the highest tier is Believe, I think. It's the very Disney dictionary of very Disney words.
Yeah.
So probably Believe or Dream or Wishes.
Pay me. Oh wait, no, that's there.
Yeah. So I'm glad we're getting annual passes back. And since I don't work there anymore and don't plan to anytime soon, it'll be exciting to get to go again without paying the full price for tickets.
Yeah. Now, I know you mentioned it earlier and stuff. You did the DCP, correct?
Yeah.
Now, did you? And that was over here on East Coast. Did you work? Did you work at all in Disneyland or over there?
Over here, I did the ticket taker over here.
The ticket taker. Okay, I'm just trying to get the full timeline, right?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was just recently. I was laid off during the whole closure. And then in 2018, I did the college program over there in Florida. I worked at Casey's Corner. Casey's Corner in Magic Kingdom.
Oh, yeah. Very nice.
That was the go-to. That was very fun. Very stressful, but very fun. And then every day I was off, I went to Epcot, essentially.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you find the crowds, by comparison, work wise? Did you find yourself having, and I know you were in different roles. I understand that. Did you find yourself, having an easier time on the East Coast or the West Coast? Because I know that you have more of a local crowd over there, correct?
Yeah, I really saw that firsthand. I didn't fully believe it until I went over there.
Yeah.
And at Ticket Taker over here, I would get California, 15 minutes away. But over there, I would see Wisconsin and Mexico and
Oh,
Germany,
yeah. Yep.
like literally all over the world, which was
Yeah.
crazy. Very, very rarely did I see like Orlando, which I mean, I saw a couple, but
Yeah.
I definitely got that experience of seeing it. It is very much localized over here.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. No, we definitely want to get out there sometime. So you might need to give us a bit of a tour when we finally do. But
Absolutely.
so, so
Either way, yeah.
what what attractions do you feel that we have in both? Which ones? All right. So here, I'll play a quick game with you because
For sure,
I'm
yeah.
curious. I always want your. So say I'm gonna say the name of a ride that we both have, and you just say which one's better. Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah,
So
I could do that.
I'll start with the obvious ones: Pirates of the Caribbean.
Disneyland.
Yeah. All right. Haunted Mansion.
Walt Disney World.
Okay.
It's very different for me. Yeah.
Wow.
I know many people hate that I like that, but yeah, I really like the extra staircase room.
Yes.
The first time I saw that literally blew my mind. And I mean I love both of our exteriors, but that dark towerish house in the background like really
Yeah.
spoke to me. So yeah, it's very controversial for especially my friends out here, but Walt Disney World's Haunted
I'm
Mansion.
with you. I'm with you. No, I think the only thing that sets West Coast, and again, I still haven't experienced it firsthand, but I think we all know I'm a mansion head, or whatever. We got to figure out a name for like Haunted Mansion fans. But I think the only thing that really sets it just a small iota above is presence of the Hatbox Ghost.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I don't expect them to ever bring it to East Coast. I don't care, and I respect that they keep it over there because that's very much their thing. But I can't wait for the day that I get to see him in his glory. But yeah, moving on.
For sure.
Peter Pan's Flight.
That's a funny story. I'm actually terrified of that ride.
Really?
That's a long story. But I did do both. I would have to say Walt Disney World.
Okay.
And that's only for the line, I think.
Okay.
Plus we got that to be fair, maybe it's a tie for me cuz you guys have that line and it's like the older style that we used to have.
Yeah.
But our newest update doesn't make me as terrified of it as much. So maybe a tie.
if you don't mind me asking, and if you do, that's fine. Is it heights? Is it the crocodile? Is it Tinkerbell? Because she scares the hell out of me. So.
I think the short answer is heights.
Heights. Okay. All right. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a little bit different, but Tower of Terror, Guardians, Mission Breakout.
Oh, okay. That's a whole thing. If you would have asked our tower versus your tower 100%.
Okay.
Walt Disney World's tower. But Walt Disney World's tower versus Guardians.
Okay. That's fair. That's very fair. What else do we have? Is there any big difference between
Splash
Thunder Mountain? Oh, well, Splash. Yeah, let's do Splash.
Splash Mountain. I would have to. Unfortunately, I didn't actually ever ride it out there. So I'm sorry. I know.
Yeah.
I wanted to. It just like I really hate waiting in very long lines,
Yeah,
and for every time I was there, it was like 2 hours. I'm like, I can't do 2 hours. I'm sorry. Plus, I've only ever ridden it once over here, so I apologize.
It's okay. We'll forgive you.
How about Thunder Mountain?
Disneyland's. There is a slight difference. I noticed that like most of it is actually mirrored.
Really?
I noticed that like a second, yeah. Like when you start, we would go to the left, and I think I noticed you guys went to the right, like right after the station.
Yeah.
So a lot of it for me was it's mirrored, which kind of like threw me off for a second. But yeah, I just have to go with the original.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
For that.
What else do we got? Well, since we're talking mountains, Space Mountain.
Disneyland's 100%.
Disneyland. Yeah, yeah. I've
Yeah.
heard nothing but good things about it.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right, Matt. What am I missing? What am I missing here, Chief?
I was trying to think about it too. I think that's pretty much it at this point. Because Rise is the same, Falcon's
Yeah,
the
Rise is.
same.
Hmm.
Trying to think.
Well, Small World, but
Small
I mean,
World,
I wouldn't
yeah.
blame you if you don't get on Small World.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I do all the time.
Okay.
good for you.
Yours was Walt Disney World's was cute, but yeah, ours 100%.
Yeah.
Because Land has the characters in it now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it has the
Yeah.
outdoor portion
Yeah.
too.
The outdoor
What?
portion is always nice. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, other than that, you've really
Astro
just got
Orbiter maybe. But
Astro. I don't think there's gonna be any difference there. But maybe Jungle Cruise, but I know
Jungle.
Jungle
I love
Cruise.
the indoor section. The indoor section
Oh,
of
yeah.
Jungle Cruise over in Florida is really cool.
Yeah.
We don't have that. That's
Yeah.
really impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. Now,
And I like
have
the
you been on new
plane
version?
that was in. No, I know. I want to, but like, that I would have had to pay an extra ticket. So that's the first thing I'm doing once I get my new magic key.
Yeah. Wow, that's really exciting. All right. Well, if people want to see more of your stuff, Tim, where is the best place to find you?
For sure. Definitely TikTok is the most active thing, I guess. So TikTok at Diz Tim 101. But I'm also on Instagram and Twitter as the same thing. Not quite as active over there, but mainly on TikTok. Doing a lot of different content over there. I would love to do more. So if there's anything that pops up, TikTok will be the first place that will know about it.
Yep. Yeah, you're very on top of your posting over there. So like you're typically like the first with the news, at least on my end. You know. So major.
Thank you.
salute
I really don't think I am.
well-
I really think I'm
Because
like,
this-
I feel like I'm like failing it a lot recently.
Well, it's been a weird dry spell, hasn't it? Because I feel like there was a couple weeks where it was like a lot of news. You had, Avengers Campus, and you had then this happens and that happens. But then it just sort of goes into that bit of a, kind of fade off for a little bit of time. So,
Yeah, I guess it does.
I think everyone's been dealing with it, especially with the presence of, DCPs again. And, very, very much their stuff gets pushed more because I think like the closer, like when you're there, it just spreads better or whatever. I don't know.
I can see that. Plus, TikTok really likes that sort of like Instagram influencer style, which is fine. That's not something that either one of us do. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's why we're sort of being pushed back a little bit.
Yeah. Oh well. We gotta
Just
work
don't
that
drink
out for
fountain
them
water.
somehow. Yeah.
Yeah, I could totally do that. I honestly wanted to do that once. Not at Disney. At Knott's Berry Farm, which is
Oh.
another theme park out here.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to like fake drink water and like try to do that, but
Not worth
I
it.
couldn't. Yeah,
Not worth
no.
it. All right. Well, fans, it looks like it's time for us to get going. I think we have a fast pass waiting for us on Test Track of all things. You believe that? Believe
wow.
that?
Yeah.
Oy. So, but we really have enjoyed our time with you, folks, and we certainly have enjoyed our time with you, Tim. If you would like some more hubgrass in your life and you would like to find us on social media, you can find me on TikTok at Unofficial Disney CEO. Matt, where can they find you, Matt?
They can find me on Instagram and YouTube. On Instagram, Matt Arterbury, as well as Matt and Mary Kate on YouTube. I have been dabbling a little bit more in TikTok recently, so you can
Yes,
follow,
you
me,
have.
follow me over there if you'd like. But no pressure. No pressure.
Yeah. And then if you would just like some more straight up hubgrass in your life, go check us out on Instagram, where we do typically regularly post. I think we've been getting better at it.
No, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And keep an eye out for our Fast Pass Friday episodes when they do come out. They just kind of come out intermittently. But until then, folks, there's a great, big, beautiful podcast just a stream away. We'll see you on the podcast. Bye, folks.
See ya.
See ya.